It started like any ordinary morning at Havenmart Grocery. Derek Cole, a hardworking 27-year-old college graduate, walked into his shift with a quiet smile and a simple goal: to prove himself. But in that store, no matter how hard he tried, his effort was always overlooked. His manager, Mr. Lawson, never missed a chance to remind him of where he stood. During the morning briefing, Lawson smirked and said, "Derek, maybe let someone else handle the register. We need people who move fast when it counts." The room went silent. Derek looked down, his pride stung, but he kept his calm. That's how it always was, quiet disrespect wrapped in professional tone. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button, then comment where you're watching from. Your support keeps these powerful stories coming. That night, while the rain tapped against the glass, Derek stayed late after his shift, stacking shelves alone. His back ached, but he kept going. He pulled out his phone and looked at a photo of his late mother, the woman who taught him never to let anyone decide his worth. "I'm gonna make you proud, Ma," he whispered. What Derek didn't know was that someone had been watching, Ms. Daniels from corporate HR, passing by for an early inspection and noticing his dedication. A few days later came the big event. The CEO herself was visiting. The entire store buzzed with tension. Mr. Lawson strutted around, barking orders, desperate to impress. When he saw Derek at the register helping a customer, his tone turned sharp. "Didn't I tell you to stay in the back? You're not frontline material." The customer frowned. "He was doing just fine," she said, but Lawson ignored her completely. Derek said nothing. He just nodded and walked away, jaw tight, heart heavy. Then the moment came. A black car pulled up outside, and from it stepped Evelyn Carter, the CEO of Havenmart, an elegant, confident black woman whose presence demanded respect. The store fell silent. Mr. Lawson rushed forward with a smile too wide to be real. "Ms. Carter. What an honor. Everything's been running perfectly under my supervision." She nodded politely and began walking the aisles, observing everything carefully. Her attention stopped on Derek, who was quietly arranging products near the storage room. "You," she said, her voice calm but firm. "What's your name?" Derek straightened up. "Derek Cole, ma'am." She studied him for a moment. "You're the one who stayed late last week to clean the aisles, right?" Lawson quickly cut in, nervous. "Oh, he's just a stock guy, Ms. Carter. I'm training better talent for the front." She turned her gaze toward him, one eyebrow raised. "Better talent?" she asked. "Because from what I've seen, he's the only one greeting customers and taking pride in this place." Lawson laughed nervously. "With all due respect, Ms. Carter, some people just don't have the skills for advancement." The air went still. Ms. Carter stepped closer, her tone cold now. "Funny," she said, "because I started right here, behind that same counter. And I heard you call one of my employees unqualified. Care to explain that?" Lawson's face drained of color. I didn't mean," but before he could finish, Ms. Carter turned to Derek. "Would you mind showing me how you handle a customer?" Derek hesitated, then stepped behind the counter. Calm. Focused. He greeted the next customer with warmth, scanned every item with precision, and handled the transaction smoothly. Ms. Carter smiled. "Impressive," she said. Then she turned back to Lawson. "Looks qualified to me. In fact, more qualified than someone who can't recognize talent when it's right in front of him." Lawson's smile collapsed. "Ms. Carter, wait," but she cut him off. "Effective immediately, you're relieved of your duties." The store went silent. Lawson's face turned red. "You can't fire me." She replied, cool as ice, "Oh, I can. And I just did." Lawson stormed out in disbelief, his reign of arrogance finally over. The rest of the staff looked stunned. Ms. Carter turned back to Derek, her expression softening. "You've got integrity," she said. "Something this company's been missing. I'd like you to manage this branch, with my full support." Derek's eyes widened. For a moment he couldn't even speak. "Ma'am, I don't know what to say." She smiled. "Say you'll show them what qualified really looks like." Derek nodded slowly, tears threatening to fall. The narrator's voice breaks in softly. "Sometimes the people who try to bury you don't realize you're a seed. And when you rise, they'll have no choice but to watch you grow." Derek went home that night, proud but humbled, ready to call his sister and tell her everything. But before he could, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. A deep, calm voice came through the static. "Congratulations, Mr. Cole. But if you think that was the end, you have no idea what's coming next." The line went dead. Derek froze, staring out the window. Across the street, under the flickering streetlight, a black car idled, engine running. His heart pounded. The voice from the phone. After that life-changing day, Derek Cole's world flipped overnight. 1 week he was being humiliated by his manager, The next he was the new branch manager of Havenmart, the youngest in the company's history. Customers greeted him differently now. Coworkers who once ignored him smiled and asked for advice. But while the world finally seemed to see his worth, Derek couldn't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere, was still watching him. Every night, as he closed up the store, the same black car sat across the street, its engine quietly running. At first, he brushed it off. Probably just security, he told himself. But then the late-night calls began. No voice this time, just static. Always from an unknown number. Always right after closing time. One night, as rain poured against the glass, Derek stayed late reviewing reports. He heard the phone buzz again. Unknown number. He sighed, hesitated, and answered. At first, nothing. Just heavy breathing. Then a distorted voice whispered, "You don't know who you're working for, do you?" Derek froze. "Who is this?" The line went silent, then clicked dead. The next morning, Ms. Carter, the CEO, arrived unexpectedly. Her tone was calm but serious. "Derek, we need to talk." She led him into the back office and closed the door. "Do you know who owned this store before Havenmart acquired it?" He shook his head. It was part of a private chain called the Garrison Group, a company under federal investigation for money laundering and exploitation. "We thought we'd cleaned house, but something's resurfaced." She handed him a folder. Inside were copies of employee files, strange transactions, and a name that made Derek's blood run cold, Daniel Lawson. "The old manager?" he asked. Ms. Carter nodded. "He's been contacting former executives. Some of our systems were breached last week. I think he's looking for revenge." Derek's hands clenched. "He blamed me for his firing." She looked him straight in the eye. "Be careful, Derek. If he's involved, this isn't over." Later that evening, as Derek locked up, the lights flickered. He turned, and saw a shadow move near aisle 6. "Hello?" No answer. Just the hum of the refrigerators and the echo of dripping rain. He walked slowly toward the sound, gripping a flashlight. Then, crash, a shelf collapsed behind him. Papers scattered. The flashlight hit the floor, rolling toward something glinting in the dark. Derek picked it up. It was a silver flash drive. No label. Just one symbol engraved on the side, a serpent wrapped around a $sign. He plugged it into his office computer. One file appeared, Project Meridian. His brow furrowed. He clicked it. The screen went black for a moment, then lines of code flashed rapidly before revealing a message: "You were never promoted by accident. You're part of something much bigger." Before Derek could react, the store phone rang, loud, shrill, echoing through the empty aisles. He answered. "Hello?" A voice, calm, confident, disturbingly familiar, replied, "Nice work, Manager Cole. You passed the first test." Derek's heart pounded. "What test? Who are you?" The voice chuckled. "Let's just say, the CEO isn't the only one running this company." Static roared through the line, and then, a second voice joined in. Softer. Familiar. "Derek, it's Lawson." Derek's grip tightened on the receiver. "You're finished, Lawson. You're done messing with me." But Lawson laughed coldly. "You really think Evelyn Carter promoted you because of your hard work? You're standing on the ruins of a cover-up, boy. And you're the perfect distraction." The lights in the store began to flicker again. On the monitor, Derek saw security camera feeds glitch, one by one, until only one remained. Camera 7. The parking lot. The black car was there again. But this time, the driver's door opened. A tall figure stepped out, holding a briefcase. The headlights flashed twice, as if signaling. The voice on the phone spoke one last time. "Open the door, Derek. Or we'll open it for you." Derek backed away slowly, his pulse racing. The lights went out completely, plunging the store into darkness. Then, 3 knocks on the glass. Measured. Slow. The outline of a man appeared against the lightning outside. Derek's trembling hand reached for the door handle. Lightning cracked across the parking lot as Derek's trembling hand gripped the door handle. The figure outside stood perfectly still, rain cascading down his coat. The briefcase in his hand gleamed under each flash of thunderlight. Derek's heart hammered in his chest. "Who are you?" he shouted through the glass. No response, just that steady, unflinching stare. Then, slowly, the man lifted his other hand and revealed something small and metallic, a Havenmart ID badge. Derek hesitated, then unlocked the door. The man stepped inside, water pooling at his feet. His voice was calm, unsettlingly polite. "Mr. Cole," he said. "You've been busy." Derek squared his shoulders. "You're from corporate?" The man smiled faintly. "In a way." He placed the briefcase on the counter and clicked it open. Inside were rows of files, all stamped with the same symbol, the serpent wrapped around the $sign. Derek's pulse quickened. Project Meridian, he muttered. The man nodded. Ah, so you've seen it. He leaned in, his tone turning sharp. You were chosen, Derek. Groomed, even. The CEO wanted someone clean, someone trusted to take over this branch and make the transition look legitimate. Derek frowned. Transition? From what? The man smirked. From a front to a filter. This store was never about selling groceries, it's a test site. Every transaction, every loyalty card, every camera, feeds into a system we built to predict and manipulate consumer behavior. You were the perfect face to make it all look innocent. Derek stepped back, shaking his head. No, Ms. Carter wouldn't what? The man interrupted, eyes narrowing. Lie to you? She's the architect, Mr. Cole. The mastermind. Daniel Lawson was the fall guy. The words hit Derek like a punch to the gut. That's impossible. She exposed him. She saved me. The man's expression softened, almost pitying. She needed someone to believe the story. Someone the public would root for. And who better than the underdog she rescued from discrimination? Derek's breath caught. You're lying. The man reached into the briefcase and tossed a folder onto the counter. Inside were printed emails between Ms. Carter and a private defense contractor. One line stood out, Cole's promotion will serve as a distraction during the final integration phase. Thunder rumbled overhead as the truth sank in. Derek clenched his fists. Where is she? The man's cold smile returned. She'll contact you soon, once she knows you've accepted your role. Derek's eyes flicked to the security monitor. The black car outside now had 2 more vehicles parked beside it. He could see silhouettes moving in the rain. And if I don't accept? He asked. The man closed the briefcase. Then the system resets. And people like you disappear. The air grew heavy. Derek's fear slowly hardened into resolve. You said I was chosen, he said quietly. But maybe you chose wrong. He stepped forward, eyes blazing with defiance. You wanted a face to hide behind? Fine. I'll show the world exactly who you are. The man sighed. A shame, he murmured, reaching inside his coat. You could have lived comfortably in ignorance. But before he could pull anything out, Derek slammed the emergency alarm. Red lights flashed. Sirens wailed. The parking lot floodlights burst on, revealing a dozen armed guards closing in. The man's calm finally cracked. What did you do? Derek glared at him. Called the news station. They've been tracing this call since I answered that phone. The man cursed under his breath, grabbing the briefcase, but Derek lunged forward, knocking it out of his hands. It slid across the floor, popping open. Dozens of documents spilled out, each stamped confidential. Outside, police cars screeched to a halt. Ms. Carter herself emerged from one, her face pale and furious. Derek, she shouted. You don't understand what you're doing. He turned toward her, rain pouring down his face. I understand perfectly. You built an empire on control. But you forgot one thing. She froze. And what's that? He lifted one of the documents high, its serpent logo gleaming in the red light. You can't control the truth. Within minutes, the scene exploded into chaos. Officers swarmed the parking lot, agents stormed the store, and the mysterious man vanished into the storm. Ms. Carter was handcuffed and led away, shouting, You think this ends with me? There are others. But Derek didn't move. He just stood there in the rain, watching everything unravel. Days later, the story hit every major network. Havenmart CEO arrested in massive corporate cover-up. Derek was hailed as the whistleblower who exposed one of the largest data manipulation schemes in the country. Yet even in victory, something gnawed at him. He sat alone in his small office, now empty except for a single object on his desk, the same black briefcase. The police had returned it, saying it contained nothing but corrupted files. But as Derek opened it one last time, he found a single slip of paper inside. In neat handwriting, it read, You stopped one branch. But the root still lives. M. Derek frowned, turning the note over. On the back was a set of coordinates, and the faint outline of that serpent logo. He looked out the window. In the distance, under the flicker of a streetlight, sat a familiar black car. Engine idling. Derek took a deep breath, grabbed his coat, and whispered to himself, Guess the fight's not over. He stepped into the rain as thunder rolled once more, the serpent symbol flashing faintly on the briefcase in his hand. The end. Comment below if you know you enjoyed the story. Also don't forget to follow, subscribe and turn on the notification button for more stories coming up.